Well, it's yet another strike organized by the organized labor in Nigeria over the hardship brought by the petrol subsidy removal. This time, a two-day warning strike began with compliance by affiliate unions of the Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, nationwide. In Lagos, Nigeria's commercial capital, the Maritime Workers Union of Nigeria backed the strike by shutting down the seaports. Well, of course, the reports have gathered from across various parts of the country is that there have been some level of compliance in Edo states as well as Kaduna, while there are levels of partial compliances in the FCT as well as Rivers State. Well, my guests are here to give us their insights to the story. Let me start with you, Majid. Divided house this time around, the NUC proceeding with a warning strike, the TUC backing out the final minute, giving room for further negotiations with the federal government. Would you say the NLC is pushing this a bit too hard on the FG and not giving the federal government an opportunity to actually address the issues holistically?
I think the NLC president, Joe Ajero, needs to be a bit careful, and especially with what we've had in the past. Now, you can see a clear division between the NLC and the TUC. I mean, yes, we all know that things are hard. The palliatives have started coming, but it's not yet percolated well. And I think Lagos State just launched its own this weekend. But you can see that I have been to 2 banks today. Banks are open in Lagos. The Lagos State Secretariat in Alausa is bubbling with activities. But maritime, and I think the NLC shows the maritime sector. They have laid siege on the port since 5 a.m. So they went to the maritime sector to shut that place down today. I think that's the only where
it was effective in Lagos.
It was effective in Lagos. And also in Abuja, the Federal Secretariat complex, especially so, activities were paralyzed. But in other parts of the country, I think it's not been a very successful strike. But like I said earlier, Joe Ajero needs to tread cautiously the way it goes on, where we've described, especially with its affiliation, quote and unquote, with the Labour Party.
Okay, Tunde Abaton, let me bring you up to speed with this one. The NLC says it's a warning strike, but how much of a warning will the federal government get from a strike that is failed to even resonate among even the other chapters of the Congress? And is this now the NLC, is it running a goose chase at this time, or perhaps the federal government can see this as an opportunity to invite them for further negotiations?
Well, without necessarily holding brief for the federal government, we all know that at any point in time in any nation's history, new leaders emerge with new styles, with new programs. And I think, to be fair to this government, they have engaged organized labor immediately after the subsidy was removed. And we all know that, those of us who know the history of labor negotiation in Nigeria, it is not so easy for the federal government to just announce a new salary wage without necessarily carrying out the state governments along. Because most of the states, up to today, I'm not sure whether most of them have even paid the 30,000 naira minimum wage. So all these things have to be taken into consideration. And I believe that Ajero was insisted on going on strike because to prove a point, that point that what the labor could not do in the immediate past 2 years, they have not been able to gather the workforce together. Yes, they have the right to strike at any point in time, but that negotiation must have been seen to be inconclusive, especially if the federal government failed to show up or meet its own part. The issue of cushioning the effect, which we all felt, it rains everywhere. Everybody has to know that it has affected every living Nigerian, everybody living here. It's going to be a process in which not only are they giving palliatives, like where I live, you'll be surprised that the people say in Ogun State, but the people said they organized a rally last week. They said they didn't want any palliative. What they wanted is to come and repair the road, for the government to come and repair their road so that they can infrastructure, they can go about their normal
activities. At least that will boost the economy.
Because they know that a bag of rice that we have given them today is not going to suffice for 1 month. You go back to the old problem. So I would have expected the labor to be more insistent more on giving value to the naira, because the issue of economy is what money can buy. not how much you are holding as your salary.
Yeah.
Okay.
The value of pound sterling, even in UK today, you can't believe that aggregate bread. I have a cousin who lives in UK most of his life, just came back. Aggregate bread that they sell in UK, to buy it now is about equivalent of 2,500 naira. Things are also hard all over the country.
Yeah.
So what we believe is that NLC should not unnecessarily overprice itself, because as far as I'm concerned, I came here by public transport and I didn't encounter any problem today.
Okay.
I have a,
All right.
my son went to school today.
I mean, Abato, it's a concern, but of course, we have to address it together. But let me go to BKO in Abuja. BKO, I'm sure you must have observed the way the warning strike may have panned out in Abuja. But what are the issues? Some of the issues the NLC have put forward against the federal government for calling this strike is that the federal government is not engaging them enough when it comes to what palliative will be put in place for workers who are now finding it difficult to go to work. But BKO, what would you say, what's your take on this? And would you say the NLC should tread cautiously and the federal government should speed up whatever they're working on to ensure that this doesn't get into a much more complicated situation?
Oh, I prefer to stay in the middle, although it is always said that you either stand on the right or you stand on the left, because the middle is a ditch. In this case, whether the middle is a ditch, as a philosopher once said, I would prefer to stay in the middle. I think the whole essence of the warning strike by the NLC is to get our government to speed up efforts to ease the pain on our people. If this is purely what the Labour wants, this is purely what Labour wants, I have no opposition to it. What we do not want to see is people inciting other Nigerians to violence. That is condemnable. But everywhere in the world, Labour fights for the rights of workers. They are a pressure group, and their responsibility is to ensure that at this time that Nigerians are facing perhaps the most difficult time of their lives, the government shows commitment to easing the pain of the people and doing that in good time. Labour has complained that meetings are not taking place. What they want to see is those efforts ramped up quickly so that Nigerians can begin to feel the value of the palliative measures that government has come up with, the interventionist measures that government has come up with. So now government is asking for 2 weeks to be able to put some things in place. Now we have ministers in place. By now, the Minister of Labour and Employment must have had meetings with Labour. We don't need Labour to kind of energize the process. Everyone knows what our people are going through at this time. We know that these measures will help Nigeria to come good in the final analysis. We are not ignorant of the fact that these are necessary steps that have to be taken. I've listened to former Emir of Kano, Muhammadu Sanusi, say that, yes, people need to be patient with the government. I've listened to even clerics say the same thing. But there are some steps that have to be taken at this time. People want to see those steps taken quickly. That's what Labour is all about. We need to bring in vehicles to ease the pain that commuters are facing. We need to bring in vehicles. We need to ramp up efforts to convert gasoline-fired engines to CNG-fired engines, which will be a much cheaper option to buying petrol at this time. These are the steps that we must show to our people that, yes, we are taking these steps. We need the minister to address us from time to time to say, these are the steps that we are taking. From so time, you begin to see this and this and this and that. That will make the government believable. That will make people take to the government. That will make people to trust the government that it is taking steps to solve these problems. There's no need to wait until Labour begins to take certain steps before.
Okay, BKO, let's wrap up with this, but let me quickly take your final submission. Do you think the warning strike can speed up the government efforts? Do you think this warning strike is capable of putting government on their toes to speed up the work they are doing, just like you put in your remarks earlier?
Yes. Yes. The government, I believe, is not an irresponsible one. The government can see what Labour wants. And that's why government is saying, give us so time. And I believe that the steps that Labour has taken now will show to government that it needs to move fast. Because whether we like it or not, yes, Labour, they are just 5% of our population. But they speak for a lot more people. So let's do what is right. Let's do what is right. Do our best to ease these pains. The issue of minimum wage, let's see signs that, okay, states and the federal government are coming together to decide on minimum wage. Let's see that happen quickly. Let's see the issue of vehicles that the president promised will be brought into the country. Let's see concrete steps being taken. Let the people see the signs that the government is on an inexorable path to easing their pains. Frankly, if government can do this, everyone will be happy, not just Labour. So these are the issues. They are saying they need to do those meetings. Meetings are not taking place. Let those meetings happen. And
all right, that's a good way for us to drop that conversation. Thank you so much, BKO, for that wonderful thought. And I think, gentlemen, you would agree that you can't beat a child and expect the child not to cry. Nigerians have had to deal with the subsidy removal for about 3 months now, since this administration began. As much as we are sympathetic to the administration that is still settling down, you would understand that they still have to speed up work. Absolutely.
No doubt about that.
Absolutely. Okay.